how to navigate the waters of recruitment and finding a college that best fits you. And we're also really big about getting out of your bubble. And so even if it's just for 4 years, we encourage people to go experience things and try some new things. And so, like I said, there's lots of junior colleges around the country that have dormitories and stuff, and you don't necessarily have to stay at your local county college, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's where I got my associate's degree. That's where Jimmy got his. But there are other places where you can go see the world and or the country, and that can open up some doors to some other 4 year institutions for you later down the road.
We're live.
All righty.
Awesome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are on the track. We are on the cross country course. And tonight we're going to Muskegon, Michigan. But before we get started, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and all podcast platforms. Drop a comment. Let us know your thoughts and join the conversation. Support the show. If you're loving what we do, you're getting any value out of what we do, please buy us a coffee. Every sip keeps us grinding for that next episode. We're doing this because it's a grassroots movement. We're here to spotlight programs and coaches we wish we knew during our own recruiting process. Wrestlers, runners, student athletes, this one is for you. And if you got training coming up for any sort of a race, ultramarathon, marathon, couch to 5K, we got you. Check out Black Sheep Endurance for all your running, nutrition, and strength and conditioning needs. Click on that link to get started. Now, let's get into it. Tonight, we've got a special guest, Coach Nick Marcinkowski, head cross-country coach and track and field coach at Muskegon Community College, Region 12 Men's and Women's Coach of the Year, led the 2005 Indoor Track Jayhawks to a double Region 12 championships, ran an MCC as well as Grand Valley, built the Powerhouse program at MCC, and we're diving into all things running, coaching, and recruiting. It's time to get into it. Coach Marcinkowski, thank you for joining Airey Bros Radio tonight. Thank you for reaching out to us. It is an honor and a pleasure to chat with you. We are super excited to hear about all that you got going on at MCC. So thank you. How's it going?
Good. Awesome. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it a lot. It's a great opportunity for us to get out there and get our name out there and show basically the country what we have to offer, what we can give, and what we can show.
Awesome. Well, let's get it out there. If you have anything you'd like to plug or promote, any of the school socials, anywhere we can send recruits in and out of Michigan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, we have our Instagram page, Muskegon_XCTF. That's great. I try and highlight everything on there, and then MuskegonJayhawkAthletics.com that has basically all of our primary school related material on there, recruitment forms, everything on there. So those two are the primary ways. And then, but you all know as well as I do, Instagram is king now. So the DM world, hit us up with your DMs, questions, concerns, recruitment questions all day long. I'll take them.
Awesome. Put that stuff in the show notes for you as well. And Coach, one of the things we like to do here is we like to create through lines for our guests and make the world a little bit smaller, even though we've never met and you're in a state a few thousand miles away. We'd like you to know that you are our second Grand Valley alumni.
Whoa, who was the first?
One, Coach Nick Polk from Lipscomb University.
Hey, Pokers. Yeah, man. Oh, gosh. I haven't talked to Nick Polk in forever. Yeah.
Well, he's doing well, and he's doing some pretty cool things down in Nashville, Tennessee, with the Buffaloes at Lipscomb.
Yeah, he's awesome. I remember Nick Polk. He was the assistant coach to Jerry Baltus as I was heading out the door. So he just
Awesome.
took over that role. So yeah, from Joe Lynn.
Yes.
Charlotte 49ers. Shout out.
Okay, I was almost a Charlotte 49er, but I went to community college instead, and that's why we're here tonight. So the other thing we like to do, Coach, we all have our origin stories, how we got into the sport. Mine involves a 5 mile race at the age of 5 to win a fish tank. Jimmy's is a little bit different. He's 11 years younger than me, so he got drug around the state of New Jersey following my parents to cross-country races, wrestling matches, outdoor track meets. And so he kind of just followed the path and did his own thing and took a little bit more interest in wrestling, but he has run a marathon and he is well versed in the world of cross country and track and field. So, what's your origin story? How did you get into the sport and how did that lead you to coaching?
Yeah, it stems back to my dad. My dad was ran for Howell High School in Michigan, which was a powerhouse back in the 70s and 80s. Um, he ran basically in Converse. He ran a 1550 in Converse shoes. And so that stood as the goal to beat amongst all my male cousins. So all my male cousins were runners. My cousin Steven held the 5K record at Oakland at OU for about a year before it got broke. So that kind of fueled it from a really young age. I mean, I wrestled through eighth grade. So I wrestled sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And then got smacked around in high school a little bit and then realized maybe this isn't for me. So I started running ninth grade and just started, I was slow, 24 minutes for a 5K, not really feeling it, wasn't my favorite thing, but kept grinding, kept grinding. Then junior year really clicked for me in high school, took off, went from 20 minutes my sophomore year, ran 1640s my junior year. Senior year, of course, overtraining, plagued by injury, kind of stayed in that realm, 1640, 1650. So back, 15 years ago, if you ran the 16s, you were highly recruitable. So I had offers to go to GV, Lake State, couple St. Louis, St. Mary's, a few schools down south, and just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, well, I'll go to Muskegon Community College. At the time, they didn't have any running or anything. So I was like, I'll go there for a semester, and I'll go to Grand Valley and try and rewalk on, etc. Happened to be running on campus one day, and athletic director at the time, Marty McDermott, who just left the school in November of this year, after almost 20 years there, basically said, "Hey, we're starting a program. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Ooh." Like that same mindset that a lot of kids have about JUCO. Like, what is this? What is it really going to do much for me? The thing that stuck with me is he said, if you run, I'll pay for your school. If you stay here, I will pay for your school education. And I was like, well, I didn't know how much school really cost at that time. I'm like, well, that sounds like a great opportunity. So gathered up all the guys that I ran with in the area who I knew were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. And we basically formed a ragtag team of guys. That ragtag team of guys in our first year, this is when we were JUCO D1. And we qualified. We got into nationals, had a great season, ran okay at nationals. But the one thing that stuck with me is I was an academic All-American at Muskegon Community College because our team finished fourth in the country in academics. And so that really set me aside, and that gave me the push to go to Grand Valley. And then GV, couldn't really hang with the distance kids. Lots of injuries still plaguing, so I switched to a sprint mid. Primary was 4, 6, 8, 1K was my neck of the woods. Got out of there, missed a lot of opportunities to do great things there, whether it was just not training well, etc. And then just stepped away from the sport for a long time because I had a bigger taste to it. Then I saw that the program took off cross country wise. They had a track and field at MCC in 2015, and it hadn't gone anywhere. And seeing that really frustrated me after all those years. I got married, started a family. And then in 2021, the coach that was there, Katie Alfredson, who was a DMR and 800 All-American at Grand Valley, basically she reached out on Facebook and said, "Hey, I need help. Can I have a volunteer coach?" And I was like, "I'll volunteer." So that's how I got into back to MCC, was seeing the deterioration of the program, seeing someone who needed help, got back into the program. She stepped down after the year. The track coach stepped down, and then I took over. And that's when we said, okay. So I took over. We had 12 student athletes. We had 9 girls and 3 boys. That was it. This year, we have 48. So quite a big expansion. To give you perspective, we started summer conditioning with 71.
Nice.
So So program, we run a tough program. Most of us are all GV alums. Scene Wells was a two-time national champion from Grand Valley in the hurdles, 16 to 110s. Callie Clark, my women's assistant, she was two-time All-American at GV, 1632, 1636 PB. Joe, our throws coach, was an All-American at Aquinas and throws. So we run our program like a D2 program. We try to, without a JUCO budget, though.
Okay. So, Coach, if I'm geographically correct, you guys are in the same vicinity, yeah, as GV?
You were 40 minutes north.
Okay.
Yeah, so just literally a hop, skip. It's all highway, straight down, boom, right there.
And before you volunteered to help out at MCC, had you been coaching at all?
No,
Okay.
no, I just had, yeah. So up until 2020, 2021, 2022, I had, watched the sport from afar, followed, tracked the programs at both GV and MCC, watched where some students had gone, watched the development of the program. And then the more I watched it, the more I got frustrated. And then we made a jump. My family did. So we lived in Grand Rapids, close to Allendale, close to Grand Valley. We made a jump and we moved up to Muskegon, back up to Muskegon, where I was born and raised up here in Muskegon County. And that built it up even more, seeing that, okay, where's this program going to go? Can I make this program better? Can I help this program grow? Can I give students an opportunity that I squandered, that I missed out on? And that's where we're at today. And, we had 5 kids go out last year to D2. So I think for me, it's a great accomplishment. That's what we want to be able to do.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And you mentioned you were an academic All-American there.
Yep.
And I also saw that Muskegon was at the 13th best GPA out of all divisions in
Yep.
cross country.
Yep. The men did, and the ladies had the 4th best out of all JUCO divisions. So,
All right, let's
yeah.
go.
So, yeah, the girls were just shy. I think they hit like 388.6 or 386. 3 out of the 4 girls, 3 out of our 5, 3 out of the top 5 had 4.0s. So
Let's go.
yeah.
Is there study halls going on, Coach?
Yeah. So as well as I do, the JUCO standard to compete is 2.0. When people come in, we have a mini camp in the beginning of summer, in August, short after cross starts, where we bring all the throwers, sprinters, jumpers, hurdlers, and I lay it out and I say, even though the JUCO standard is 2.0, my standard is 3.0. If you do not have a 3.0 or greater, you're going into study tables. So the precedence is that, you fail a class, you're below a 3.0, so you should be in study tables. And the nice part is that our school, I don't know how their JUCOs do it, but we have alerts set up. So if I have a student that fails a test, I find out. If we get kids that aren't showing up for class, we find out. We get notifications. We get care report alerts that tell us if they're not there or if they failed a test. So most of the time, before they can even come tell me that they missed class or they failed the test, I know. And, we're circumventing that. We're going, hey, what's wrong? What are you missing? What are you not studying? We get them tutors. We get them more support beyond study tables. So we try and drive that aspect up as much as possible. You're a student athlete. And I think a lot of coaches in the country say that you can't have one without the other. You can be a great athlete, but you got to be eligible to be that great athlete.
No doubt.
Coach, with that standard, have you noticed that kids maybe that didn't pass clearinghouse leaving college or didn't have the academics, now they're students?
Yeah. Yeah. Now they are. That I love being able to take the kids that struggled their freshman and sophomore year in high school, that did well in their junior year and okay in their senior year, and maybe at that 1.9, that 2.0, that 2.1, and get them out my door with like a 3.5 or higher, because that's just going to help them. So if they get academic performance down and they get their athletic performance down, it helps them get that bigger check going out the door and scholarship going somewhere else. But if you want to transfer out with, say, a kid transfers out with a 2.3 and they're running, 48, they're going to get some money, but they're going to be an academic worry to other coaches. Like, okay, well, he barely is eligible now. what steps did JUCO make to get them there? Doesn't look like they did any. So we try and make sure that regardless of where kids want to go, we're meeting those academic standards of where they want to go.
Coach, I love the standards. I could have used the coach like you when I was in JUCO because I had two different academic lives. I had a life as I went to school for wrestling, and then I had a life where I took a time off and then went back as a student category. So I love what you're doing on that aspect of things. You're really talking to me there. I want to kind of go back though to when you jump back into coaching or jump back into running. You saw a post on social media on Facebook, hey, we need help, and then next thing you know, a year later, you're the head coach. When you went in, and I know you were watching from afar and you thought, man, I don't like what the program's doing. I think it could be doing better. Did you kind of have a game plan as far as this is what I want to do and this is how we're going to change things and get numbers up?
Um, so when I came in as a volunteer, Katie was the head coach. I just wanted to support her wholly. So at that time, I thought she was going to be there. They had a different head track and field coach. I thought he was going to be there. That was his first year as well too. So two new first year head coaches right there. And I thought I was just going to be that volunteer and that assistant for both of them, help guide them, help support them. Because my brain thinks differently. I think of, I can look at an athlete a little bit different. I didn't have the worry of, okay, I got to worry about scholarships for you. I got to do this. I could solely focus on you as the athlete. So that's always been my approach. So when cross country got over and we started to track, and that coach basically separated ways, 2 meets, 3 meets into the year, into the season, into indoor. The AD came to me and was like, hey, can you step in and take the role? And I was like, sure, let's go. Let's figure it out. And so it was understanding where all the kids had come from, what their backgrounds were, what their goals and achievables wanted to be, and go from there. And I just wanted to, I realistically, and some of these kids will highlight later on, but I wanted to get out of that season because I wanted to give us a fresh start going into the next year. So, I mean, I coached the kids what we had, tried to train them as best as I could with the short amount of time, get them where they needed to be. No national qualifiers that season, nobody going to nationals. I had no idea what JUCO nationals looked like at that time, minus for cross country because we went for cross. We took 2 girls in cross in the fall. But for me, it was okay. How do we attract more kids here? Is it, do we need to find a way to advertise more? Do we need to find the money for the budget? So that was my focus going into the next year. The next year we had 27 kids. So we went from 12 to 27. And that was a huge step up. But the one thing that never changed, and my administration knows this, is they kept the budget at 12. They kept budgeting for 12. And you've probably heard that from a lot of JUCO coaches throughout the day, is that when a budget's there, a budget stays there. It doesn't move. And it takes a very long time for it to move. So is that,
Yeah.
I can keep diving. I keep going. I can keep going tangents all night long.
How are you? Sorry to steal a question from you, Rich,
Go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
you said it budgeted for 12. It hasn't moved. You just said you had 40 kids on the
48.
team. 48. So how are you stretching that budget for 12 for 48?
Lots of PB&Js.
We host this year. It was the largest collegiate cross country race in the state of Michigan.
Nice.
So we had 27 teams represented. We clocked in 3,900 people at the gate, spectators. That has been our bread and butter for the last couple of years. So typically the last couple of years we've held some high school races with that. This year it just didn't line up. Next year we're going to rehost it. So we'll have the local GMA championships for men's and women's high school for the county, the middle school county races, and then a men's and women's Jayhawk Invite 5K and then an 8K. So that we typically clock anywhere from 10 to 15,000 to give you perspective. So between gate and entry fees. And I am a heck of a deal finder. So we have partnered, shout out to Team Gazelle Sports and Gazelle Sports here in Michigan. Matt Harima has been able to save us immensely. One of the number one thing I will always provide student athletes. What do you need to compete in cross country and track and field? What's the number one thing?
Shoes.
Shoes. I will never make a kid pay for shoes and spikes. Never. That is become such a financial burden. Think of your cross country kid, you're 2, 3 pairs a year, $150 a piece, $450 out the door, plus 2 pairs of spikes, call it 6, 7 bills. That's not an expense. So what Matt allows us to do is Matt will go there to their facility in Grand Rapids, which is about 50 minutes south of us. The kids can go pick any shoe that they want up to $200, any spike up to $200, and it is paid for by the school. Matt gives us a break of 40%. So 40% off their MSRP, which think about it, that puts most shoes well under $100. So it's been great for us. And so I'm a great budgeter with that regard. I try and find gear deals as much as possible. We are contracted with the school is contracted with the BSN, so the only thing right now that has to be Nike related is our uniforms, which I just bought plenty of, so we have plenty to go through. So yeah, I try and make it work. I try and stretch out as much as possible. The nice part is we have combined budgets. So I have a cross country budget and then a track and field budget. So I kind of merge those together and try and balance it out as we go. And we have a great community that if I go ask, I can get donations. So we have a new interim AD who has basically shown the college, and shout out to our interim AD and women's basketball coach, Jason Cooper. He has done a phenomenal job of pushing the college in the right direction to show like, hey, Nick's probably going to bring in 55, 60 plus next year. How do we support him? And so they have allowed me to show them what that cost looks like per student athlete. And I think we're going to be able to meet more on my end next year. So, blessings on that. That'll help us out a ton. That'll take a lot of stress off me rather than chase the dollar. Because the number one goal is if you're coming to us as a JUCO student athlete, I want you to be able to walk out to little to no cost out of your pocket. The goal is free. I find many ways to make it so it doesn't cost you a thing. Quality education, and for you to get in front of a coach that's going to offer you a scholarship. Those are my 3 things when you come to us. So I'm going to get you academic performance, athletic performance, and financial stability. So that's what I had, and that's what I want to be able to pass on to those kids.
Sign me up.
Let's go.
So
come
Coach,
on back. Come on back.
Well, it might not be a JUCO, but if we do get that thing goes through the NCAA, we get the JUCO, doesn't count as eligibility. I got some eligibility as a 50-year-old cross country runner. So
there you go.
NAI better look out.
There we go.
But Coach, I want to circle back around real quick because I know we were talking about Grand Valley alumni when we jumped on here, and Nick Polk has been a guest of ours. And one of the things he mentioned, you said you had the biggest cross country meet in the state of Michigan. One of the things he said that was a big thing for him when he was in college was that they had a Michigan Collegiate Cross Country Championships. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe I know running a meet is a big ordeal, but maybe you put a second one on the calendar. You get all the Michigan collegiate schools to come in. You have a big jamboree. Maybe you go from making 10, 15 at the Jayhawk Invitational. You have the Michigan Collegiates and a high school cross country meet there, and boom, we're like 20, 25,000.
Yeah, no, I loved MI Collegiates. That was so great. The 2 times I was able to run it was at Oakland, it was at OU, and it was for the 8K. It was 4 2K loops. It was great. It was on a golf course. It was fast. I guarantee you, it's you look at guys back then. 24 ties was fast. Now those guys would rip through that course in 23 and 23 low.
Yeah.
Blows my mind how much the times have changed with training and everything from when we were in till now. It's just
it's pretty crazy. I think what his high school kid ran 3:56 indoors the other day, and
yeah,
Grant Fisher broke 2 world records in less than a week, and I think 2 years ago there was like 150 plus kids that ran under 4 minutes in the NCAA.
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy. I'm like, give me a pair of Max 5s, kids. Give me the shape that I was in back then, and give me a pair of max flies or super flies, and you won't stand a chance. And I hate to say that because if we had that technology, I mean, I ran in plastic. Like it was a plastic flat bottom sprint spike. There was nothing to it. And I ran my 800s, my Ks in those. It was leather and it basically felt like pleather and plastic. That's what it was. Now you got carbon fiber blades and things I feel like I toss up in the air and they blow away because they're so light.
Well, if I'm running them, I'm going to need new Achilles tendons too. So,
Yeah, give me some while you're at it too.
so Coach, we were talking about where Jimmy and I come from in New Jersey. The county college scene is, there is some crossover where kids might, because of a major or something, might go to a county north. Or I know Jimmy went 2 counties north because it was the closest one that had a wrestling program. I stayed within our county to run cross country. But we talked to Dee, we talked to Mark, we talked to Coach Booth out at North Idaho on Monday. They all have dormitories and that sort of stuff. So what is the campus like? What is the population like? Is MCC drawing students mostly from Muskegon County?
So historical wise, yes, draw has always been Muskegon County. So if you're a Muskegon County resident, you graduate from your Muskegon County high school, you get what we call the Muskegon Promise. So if you have above a 3.0 GPA, you go to MCC for free. Um, Now, stemming off of that, now the governor here in Michigan, if you graduate from a Michigan high school, doesn't matter if you transfer. So if you go 2 years at one, 2 years at the other one, as long as you graduate, doesn't matter if you graduate with a 1.9 or a 4.0, you get to go. It's called the Michigan Guarantee. You could go to JUCO for free.
Wow.
So what's basically free. There's the fees and everything that pick up on the back end, but your tuition is covered. So books, fees, stuff like that, we can pick up on scholarship and stuff. But it's been a huge booster, and that just dropped this last year. So we're still trying to navigate how that works. But the campus sits on 126 acres. We, unfortunately, being a D2, we don't have dorms. There's lots of housing right off campus, though, apartments, townhomes, rental houses. So that has been a big boom, especially with the housing market here in Muskegon and Grand Rapids area, that whole the West Michigan side. A lot of people are buying and doing rental houses for students. So that has helped us out a lot. We have, as of 2021, so my first year there, it opened, we have a new indoor facility. So it's not 200, but it's like 180. I've measured it a couple times and I've gotten 184 and 186. So it's a 4 lane on the ground with a wrestling area in the center of it, indoor track. So, and we have a fitness area, med center inside of there. We have another big gymnasium facility. That's where all of our basketball's at, our training facility. And then we have the main campus, which kind of dips down 3 levels into a big valley where there's a river in behind it. So in spring, fall, summer, it's absolutely gorgeous back there. Nature, you can hike, you can go through there. We have a big golf course where our cross country certified cross country course is at, right across the street. Um, yeah, I love it. I could see about 100 ways to add to it and make it bigger and use that 126 acres to our advantage. And I keep plugging our administration saying, hey, we should put this there. We should build a new outdoor track there. We should do this there. So in time, hopefully they'll listen. But the draw has been primary Muskegon County students. I would say over the last 2 years, for me personally, I have been trying to reach outside of that. So I get a lot of East Side kids now, Lansing, Flint, Detroit, that area, a lot of kids from the South. And last year we had our first on the team, our first international kid from Canada. This year we have a young lady from Kenya. Next year, we have a young lady from the UK, a thrower from the UK, and another male sprinter from Canada signed to come to us next year. So we're slowly starting to stem out into that realm. And then we're hitting heavy in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin. And I signed a kid from Minnesota this year as well, too.
Coach, is everyone right now from Michigan, with the exception of some of the internationals you mentioned?
No, we have a couple of Ohio kids.
And are they're obviously living in those apartments or
Yep.
rentals you were mentioning?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Coach, you mentioned you want kids that are students, or you're gonna turn them into a student because they're gonna be at the study tables. If not, what kind of student athletes are you recruiting? What kind of student athletes do you think are gonna be good fits for the program?
Oh, that's a tough one. So I love, I will take anybody. So I don't know whether JUCO coaches say, but I mean, if you're a guy and you run 20 minutes, I'll take you. If you're a guy and you run 14 minutes, I'll take you. Because I know the reason why you're doing it is because you have a goal and aspiration. I mean, and my goal is that I was close last year, last cross country season. I had a kid finish third in the country, Kyler Dean. My goal is to either have individual national champions or get close as possible to winning a national title. Whether that be in track or cross, I got a better shot in cross because it's D2. You know, those big guys like Debron and them make it a little bit tougher for me to step up in that JUCO D1 realm. But the whole goal is if you have an aspiration to continue on, I'm going to help you find a way to do it. So whether you're a 4.0, 1.0 student, I will take you, but you have to have, and you don't see it right away, you have to have the willingness to dig deep and want to hurt through practices because it's not like high school anymore. You don't get to go to high school and run 350-meter dashes and go home and call it a day for practice. Our practices go 3-4 hours long on a weeknight. That's where I came from. We're winding up to go to nationals next week in Texas at Texas Tech, and the girls are telling me like, hey, we never would have done this in high school. If we would have known this would have been like, a year ago, I don't think we would actually have been here. Some of the girls said they probably would have just never have come because they didn't realize how hard it was going to be. But now that they are here, they're happy. So for me, I will take any kid. I want kids that are willing to work, willing to think, willing to use common sense. You have to be able to communicate. So when I'm talking to a kid communicating for recruitment, if it goes cold, I'll follow up a few times, but there's a lot of other kids out there. And I hate to say that because I want to try and give every other kid an opportunity. But if you go cold on me, I'm going to reach out as much as I can, but I have to move on at some point. So communication is huge for me. We have so for recruitment class wise, we have the D1 state champion 400-meter runner, Ahmed Amen, ran 47:24, who, I mean, we've had multiple virtual visits, site visits. We're his number one pick right now. He struggled his freshman, sophomore year, and I already talked to him and told him I was going to bring this up on this podcast, and he said that's A-okay. He's probably watching right now, to be honest with you. So shout out to Ahmed. He's asking the right questions though. He goes, so coach, he's like, coach, I struggled with this. I struggled with this. I struggled with this. How do we get around this? And I tell him, I said, we'll study tables. We'll build you up. We'll provide you with that support system. We'll get you in front of those coaches for that next level. Once your grades are up there, they already know your talent's there. Now they want to see that academic and follow through side. So it's kids like that. Like he never had support, or his support wasn't really there for him to push those other schools, and he didn't know how to ask those questions and just help him guide him through. Like I told him, I was like, we want you here. We have the funds for you to be here, but I want to give you the will. I want to give you the ability to talk to other coaches as well too. And a lot of their coaches would be like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because I want them to get the experience. You want kids to have that recruitment experience. You want them to be one and done, to be honest with you. Now, a lot of coaches might disagree with that statement, but I want kids to be able to get a feel for like, okay, that's that school. Holy crap, that's Michigan State. That's way too big for me, or I like that more. That's great. You're getting the experience because I don't want you just to come here and then go where you think you want to go after that. I want you to have that experience of this is what Davenport looks like. This is what schools out east look like, out west look like, down south. Like get that experience out.
Coach, you mentioned that communication aspect, and you also mentioned, hey, I want you to have experience talking to other coaches and going through that journey as far as looking at schools, knowing what questions to ask. Do you feel not only trying to help these student athletes be good runners, but do you feel that you have to push or help kids to be able to communicate, to be able to have conversations? Do you feel like that is just as important in your role?
Yeah. I mean, all of our kids are 17, 18 years old. They're young adults. They need to be shaped. They need to be molded into, our culture, our atmosphere that we are as, 35-year-old working class guy. I'm going to take what I know in my 15 years in the workforce so far and say, hey, here is everything I know on how to communicate. Let's show you how to do it in your setting so you can be successful. Um, they get a lot from their parents, but there's a lot their parents don't have that I see. I see a different side of a student athlete than the parents see at home. And that's the side that I need to be like, okay, this is how you have to communicate with adults beyond your parents, beyond your aunt and uncle. This is how communication works as an adult. This is your responsibility as an adult. All those aspects tie into being a great student athlete, because if you don't communicate with your coach, you don't tell them how you're feeling, you run a bad workout, coach doesn't understand why, you're not responsible enough to take care of yourself before and after practice on recovery, your performance drops, all those things together, that's a package. You have to have all those things together in order to go on to that next level. Because if I send you to a D2 school that's bigger and you don't have that, and you shut down there, that's just going to hurt you and your performance. And then that coach who I sent you to is going to be like, what the heck? What's up, Ski? Because they call me Ski pretty much everywhere else here in Michigan because I can't say my last name. That's what Jerry calls me at Grand Valley. He goes, Ski, who'd you send me? Who is this kid? This isn't the kid you described to me. So that get you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Coach, I'm curious, Grand Valley's up the road or down the road, not too far.
Yeah.
The MCCAA seems like it's a pretty deep conference. There's quite a few schools in there. Are those any of those schools within your general vicinity? Do you have competition from like a recruiting standpoint within that west side of the state where you are?
So on the cross country side, yes, we have
Yeah.
GRCC, Lansing, who is a powerhouse.
Mm.
They're an hour and a half away. They'll pull kids from all over. LMC. But I think the number one thing I always have in my back pocket is even we are the only fully established in our region. So all 36 teams that are in the region that have men's and women's cross country, men's and women's indoor track and field with an indoor facility, men's and women's outdoor track and field with an outdoor facility. So those things are huge recruiting factors for me, where a lot of other schools like GRCC, LMC, SMC, everybody but basically Macomb just brought back track and field, but they were all distance kids. Lansing has majority of distance kids. They don't have the sprinters, they don't have the jumpers, they don't have the throwers, they don't have the facility to compete in. So, I mean, outside of cross country, I think I can establish myself very, very well and be able to say, hey, this is what we have to offer. This is what I can give you. This is what we can do for you. And this is the success we've had. And a lot of times that's a game winner.
Well, I would imagine that the trifecta you got there with cross indoor and outdoor, plus with the academic stuff that we had talked about, you mentioned, just within the county, but then with also within the state. I'd imagine that's got to be pretty fruitful when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah. So typically, most of the time, if I recruit inside the state, most of those kids, very rarely do I have to give any scholarship to them because they're getting most of that covered. So that this year going forward and next year is allowing me to go out and get kids like the 1550 kid, and he was a 157 kid as a junior, and he just ran like 416 out in Minnesota. I can go, hey, I give you a full ride. I can take care of all your tuition, books, fees, and everything. And he's living with his aunt and uncle who are 20 minutes away. So that instance, I can grab those kids, and that doesn't. I mean, our tuition is, we have academics and professors that teach adjunct at Calvin, Cornerstone, Grand Valley, all those other bigger schools. So I know the education's good, but our tuition is very inexpensive compared to like a Barton or an Iowa Central. I mean, or 9 grand for a year, 8 grand for a year. And that's not even in county. In county, it's 6. So once you establish your residency in the county, it's even cheaper. So I find ways to make it work.
Sounds like it's pretty good, huh, Jim?
Yeah, no, it would make me wish I was a runner.
Coach, talking about the academic standards and the high GPAs, what is the school known for academically? Is there anything that uh, might be unique to MCC that you might not see? I know Jimmy and I coming from New Jersey, talking to as many coaches as we've talked to, we've been very surprised. Like, no one told us that these majors even existed, let alone that there were schools that offered things that we might have been a little bit more interested in. What's going on at MCC?
Yeah, so we have part of our health and wellness center, which is our indoor facility. We have one of the best nursing programs in the Midwest. And that's second to Grand Valley State University in Michigan. So for a JUCO to be right there, going toe to toe with those two schools is great. We have a full $14 million nursing simulation center. So it is absolutely amazing. Anybody who wants to go into nursing, respiratory, MA, it's a great facility. And then another thing I think we're really known for is our 2 year certs, our trades. We have a lot of trades in electrical, HVAC, plumbing, all those, and those are 2 year certs. You can still be viable with your NJCA eligibility and still be able to compete. They're super flexible course loads. And 97% rate of getting jobs outside of those too. So if you stick with those programs, the 97% higher rate through your internship. So those two things I think is a huge draw at MCC right now.
Coach, with those CERT programs, do you have any athletes that are in any of those?
Yeah, electrical heavy guys. A lot of the guys like the electrical ones because you can get journeymans right out of there. You can get your apprenticeships. You can go right through that whole program. You can do commercial, residential, linemen, all of those.
Do those guys know that's what they want to do right out? Do you have any guys that are maybe putting some numbers up that, hey, we might need to figure out how to get you some more academics so we can get you to 4 year school? Have you had any of those issues?
Yeah. There's some guys who start that way and who are like, I want to go in electrical, and we start that way, and then they start throwing down some gauntlet numbers, like, okay, you drop from a 52 in the 400 to a 48. We might have to rethink about this if you want to go on beyond MCC now, because I think you have the ability to do it. So we have those conversations, and we have kids that come in who have the aspiration to go to 4 university, and after their first year there, they're like, this isn't for me, coach. So then they transition to a 2 year cert program. So then they're with us for 3 years. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I will quickly throw down their redshirt eligibility. That's why we can save them for 2 years and build them up and give them more of an opportunity to compete with us.
It's good to let kids know that, right? They think they're kind of stuck in a certain avenue. So it's good to know you go to junior college, you have many options. One thing we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, you were the indoor coach of the year for men's and women's in the conference, and you won men's and women's. So, congratulations, first and foremost. And who do we need to keep an eye on going into indoors? And what's the goal for indoors?
Outdoors.
So right now indoor we're taking 10 down south with us. So Michael Glass, our weight thrower, is ranked 7th in the country. We're taking our 48.7 kid, 400-meter kid, who was a 50.5 kid in high school. So he's blossomed up really, really well over the 2 years. Our women's DMR is ranked 16th. Our women's 4x8 is ranked 13th. And our female high jumper is ranked 13th. So we've got some good lineups on there. My goal is that we'll have some good performances. The field events is always a game of numbers, a game of fouls. So we'll just be ready and waiting to pounce on those and hopefully get our field events in with some All-American statuses in those top 8s. And the goal is to our training, since we've run those times in the DMR and the 4x8, is to get us in a position where we can either make a move to win that second heat because right now that pushes us to the second heat, and hopefully put that in a good spot to get us a top 10 finish in both of those. And then we also have a 1K guy who's in the 1K as well too. He's ranked 22nd, so some good opportunities there to get us through. Um, I think we'll do well. We've come a long ways. I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but previous to us taking over, there were zero national qualifiers and zero All Americans. With the group that we're bringing down now, we are at 51 national qualifiers and 11 All Americans.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of work, a lot of headaches. My wife reminds me of those headaches all the time. But it has been a blessing to see kids that these are all kids that may have not had an opportunity to do this, to be able to have that opportunity. And now they're going and competing at a national stage over the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
And Coach, correct me if I'm wrong. Cross country is separated Division One, Division Two, Division Three, but indoor and outdoor, everyone just if you make the
One,
time,
1 and 3.
1 and 3. Okay.
Yep. So we move up to one.
Okay. So
Yep.
you'll see Coach Brown and Coach Barabom.
Yep. I'll see all of them. Iowa Western, Iowa Central, Barton, all those guys. South Plains, New Mexico.
Salt
Yeah.
Lake.
Salt Lake. Salt Lake, who recruits a 28-year-old that runs 358.
Shout out to Coach Wood.
Yeah, I know, right? Give him some
Um,
grief. He needs it.
I'm curious, have your athletes, have they gotten this indoor season? Have they had the ability to run on a track as fast and like Texas Tech's track?
We've ran on 200-meter tights and 300-meter bigs.
Okay.
Some of them who have ran, like two of them who have ran back in high school for indoor nationals at the Armory and stuff like that. So you get the 200-meter banked.
Yep.
We've practiced some bank technique on our track just because we do have really tight turns. So coming off the turns, hips squared up, acceleration. I think it will be a little culture shock. Bryce ran last year there down in Gainesville at the Gainesville Athletic Complex down there in Florida. So he has a good feel for it. The girls might be in a little lost turn in that DMR and the 4x8 just on those turns, but we'll have that day of practice to get them acclimated. We've done a lot of hip works, a lot of knees up drills, taught them some sprint drills just to get them used to coming off those turns a little bit tighter, a little bit faster, a little bit sharper. Yeah, just trying to throw every trick I have in the book to get them to react and understand of what that's going to feel like. But you know as well as I do, if you've ever run on a bank track, that it is very different. You hear that ting, 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 and then nothing, and then back to ting, 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 ting as you go around the curve. That alone is weird in an instance if you've never run on it before, that give and that feel of being slanted. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm excited. They're excited. And I think they're going to do some good stuff this year.
Well, I will add too, just a little bit of encouragement for the athletes. Did run my lifetime best in the 3,000 meters the first time I ever stepped foot on a bank track. So there was some magic on that old track in Boston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. Maybe that's why everybody else ran so well in Boston. It was just ingrained in there.
Yep.
Coach, you said your wife likes to remind you of the amount of time that you're putting in. I am curious. I know we've been talking a lot about the program and you got us fired up about the program, but I'm curious how you manage your life and building a junior college powerhouse.
Um, so I'm very fortunate that my daytime employer is very flexible with me. I'm usually in here at 6 a.m. and I roll out of here about 2. Check in with my family. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and then I have a 6-week old.
Oh,
And got a new one in the
you really
house.
don't sleep, do you?
No, no. Normally, if I get 5 hours, I'm clean and good to go. Um, they have become such an integral part of maintaining me. Um, I go home. That's my gate check to remind myself that I have a family outside of work and outside of track. My wife is still so supportive of what I do. She knows that it's my passion. Um, that track and field, helping those kids is my passion, and that I love to do it, and that's why I do it. Um, unlike the JUCO powerhouses out west and down south, I make about 34 cents an hour coaching, as well as I know a lot of other coaches do. So I don't do it for the money. Um, and I don't do it for personal accolades, even though I like being able to say, hey, guess what? We got another 10 kids qualified. I rub it in another coach's faces at our school. That's about it. Um, but, you know, track and field, those kids babysit my kids. They're part of my family. Um, my wife, loves to support them. We love to have as many kids over as possible, cook meals for them, be there. My girls, my two oldest are girls. They love being with the girls cross team. It's fun. It's a great atmosphere for them. So I wouldn't know how my girls would grow up without having that as a part of their life as well too. They know going to the track what that means. They can go run around. They can be crazy there too. They can go jump on the pole vault mats, the high jump mats. So they love it. They love being a part of our big cross country meet on the cross country day in the fall. They get to drive a golf cart around and have fun. And so those are all key core memories that, I don't know what we would be doing right now if that wasn't part of it. I couldn't imagine track and field and cross country not being a part of our family.
Coach, you hear other coaches, any coach that's worth their salt, say we measure performance on attitude and effort. And I can feel your passion coming through the computer screen. So I just want to thank you for
Yeah.
what you're doing at MCC. It means a lot to Rich and I to know that there are junior college coaches like you out there that are. I know you work a full-time job. I know you just said you make pennies on the hour, but you're living the dream. So keep doing you, and I can't wait to keep watching the program grow.
Yeah, it's been great to see what's blossomed. I mean, we had Kyler Dean, who's at Grand Valley now. He was a 1630 kid out of high school, and he runs 2450, 409 now, 155 or 154. Done great things, but he never would have had that opportunity. I'm just highlighting a few kids. Zach Prey was a 53-second 400-meter runner. He's number 2 all time at Grand Valley at 47.76 now.
Wow.
He left us running 49 flat and 21.5. So that's an opportunity he may have never had if he wouldn't have come. So 2 kids that I have utmost respect for, and if they needed anything, I would find a way to help them any way possible. Just because they bought into the program. They said, Coach, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to get to the next level? And I said, you just have to have your ears open and listen. And they did that, and they've succeeded beyond expectations, beyond what I thought they could do. And Kyler still has 2 years of eligibility left because he redshirted this year. So he's still got 2 years of mature and development. I mean, he's 6'2", 6'3", this big, long, lanky kid. He's full of power. Zach, with JUCO eligibility coming back, he's going to be able to have eligibility back, and he's going to be able to keep running and pounding. Shit, the kid splits a 46 high in the 4x4 for GV. I mean, those are the opportunities that I want kids to be able to go and understand, like, hey, just because you run 53 doesn't mean you can't get there. It's just going to take a lot of work.
Well, Coach, you got me fired up. I know Jimmy said that a couple times, but you got the trifecta across indoor, outdoor. You have an indoor facility, very affordable education, which then affords you the opportunity to get some kids from out of state. So, we always like to create those pipelines. Hopefully one day we'll see a Jersey athlete out there in a Jayhawk uniform. Is there anything that we haven't discussed about the school, about the program that you can add or would like to add, I should say?
Yeah, no, yeah. Um, I had in up until probably a month or two ago, I had a lot of frustration towards the university, and a lot of them know this. So if they're watching, they know this is coming. Is because the support wasn't there. We did not have the support. We were doing this as a program on our own to try and push to get these kids trained the way they need to be trained. But I'm grateful again. Shout out to Jason Cooper for getting us where we need to be and helping that push forward, getting the things we need. That has helped out a ton. I just want kids in our area, student athletes, to understand that JUCO is a powerhouse in itself. A lot of coaches, high school coaches, parents don't understand what that looks like. There's kids that run 19.9. The two kids in the finals at Olympics last year, the two outside kids in 7 and 8 were JUCO kids, JUCO national champions. You've got kids that run 14 flat in JUCO, 350s. You got girls that run sub 5. JUCO beats D1, beats D2, beats D3, beats NAIA, and vice versa. They beat us. Division, my personal preference, or my personal thing is division doesn't matter anymore. It is, the door is wide open. You can go anywhere and you can compete with anyone. You just have to choose how you want to do it. For me, I think if a kid does not explore all options of all divisions and they are not supported by their coach to do that, their parents to do that, then we have failed as a running community and supporting those kids to show them those opportunities, especially here in West Michigan, because there's a lot of good athletes that a lot of coaches tell them it's D1 or D2 or bust. You don't want to go to D3. You don't want to go to NA. You don't want to go to JUCO. And that is a failure on our, and this may fall on sour words and may hurt recruiting. That's fine, but it needs to get out there. That's a failure on our part as college coaches, high school coaches, administrators, counselors, et cetera, not getting that word out there that you don't have to go spend $40,000 on an education in your first year at school. You can go somewhere for free and beat kids that go to that school. You don't need to walk on at XYZ school. You can save that money. Then you can go there later and beat up on those kids that were walk-ons or were their varsity kids. So my TED talk right there.
Well, we appreciate you allowing
Yeah.
us to come to your TED talk because, yeah, it's unfortunate that there is a stigma. And through doing this podcast and having connections with high school coaches, I've reached out to people about some of the coaches and programs that we've had on. And I've literally had coaches tell me that kids would rather walk on at a Division I school than to potentially entertain a scholarship from another division or from a junior college and then potentially work to get that scholarship where they want to walk on. So it's we got to stop that stigma. And like you said, the stopwatch, the tape measure, the high jump, the pole vault, those marks don't lie. If you're good, you're good, and it doesn't matter if you're a Jayhawk at then NJCAA or a Jayhawk in NCAA Division One. You're going to be good, and people are going to take note of that, and you're going to get the notoriety and the scholarships and different things that come along with that.
Yeah. Yeah, we are coming, we are building, as you said, we're building into a powerhouse. I run a black and white program. What we have is what we have. We provide you with things you need to compete. We make sure you get to those meets to compete. We give you the training to compete. And then the success is all yours when you get it.
Amen.
Coach, I appreciate you being so candid because
Yeah.
sometimes we talk to coaches and it's puppy dogs and rainbows, as we like to say over here. But Rich and I, being two junior college guys that went to Division III junior college, we know it's not easy. We know it's a struggle sometimes with funds and coaches working full-time jobs and trying to do their best as coaches. So we appreciate you being so open. And shout out to Coach Cooper for listening to you
Shout out to
and
Coop.
Coop and getting everything that you need and putting that in front of the college because I think that's important to have a good administration behind you as well.
Yeah. And I got to have to give another shout out to a couple other coaches if you're okay with that.
Shout them out.
Shout out to Eric Kramer, sprint hurdles coach at GV. Shout out to Heather Johnson, sprint hurdles coach at Northwood. Shout out to Coach Cook at Davenport. All the other coaches in the area here in West Michigan, because they've supported us as well too. If they have athletes that can't get there, they send them to us. We build them up. They're funneling us. We're funneling right back to them. It's a great system. It's a great support system, and the support and knowledge from them and Coach Baltus at GV. If I wouldn't have you guys as part of that, as part of my conversations. Coach Morgan over at Cornerstone High Jump, long jump, without those conversations, I wouldn't be here. I probably would have, doing something else right now. It probably wouldn't have blossomed without your guys' support, you guys' knowledge, you guys' confidence in the program as well too.
Put them
Amen.
on the list, Rich.
I was going to say,
Yep.
Coach, if any of those coaches you just mentioned would like the platform or like to have a
Yeah.
conversation and talk more about their program, we are, like I said, this is a grassroots movement, and we're just trying to get the word out for as many people because, like Jimmy and I say, every time we do this, I just can't believe how many schools there are that are out there that have opportunities in cross country, track and field, and wrestling that just some people in different parts of the country have no idea about. So,
Yeah.
any of those coaches want to come on and chop it up with us, we'd love to have them.
Yeah. And to stem off that, there's people a block away from our school that don't even know we have track and field and cross country. So it's whatever we can do to push out as much as possible, get those kids opportunities as everything.
Yep.
Final four, Rich.
Let's do it.
All
Okay.
right. Coach, I think I know the answer based on your sleep pattern. Are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah, a cup a day.
All right. How do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
Black in a pot.
All
Yep,
right.
I am a Black Rifle Coffee man through and through. They sponsor us through and through on our Jayhawk cross country days. So I drink it religiously now. So, but only a cup a day. That's
All
it.
right.
Respect. Respect. Do you have a favorite blend from Black Rifle?
Silencer Smooth,
Okay. All
and
right.
then
I've seen that
and
one.
and the tactical Sasquatch, tactical Squatch.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I've had
that
that one.
too.
Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Nick Marcinkowski?
Prayer. I mean, I'm up early in the morning, 4:30. That alarm goes off. I got to be in here by 6 into my office. I got an hour and a half of time to talk, debate, argue, whatever he wants to call it, just to get my bearings, figure out who I am for the day, what my goals are for the day, and how the best Lord Jesus can get me there. So sometimes an unpopular thing to say, but in my book, I'll take whatever advantage, whatever help I can get, whenever I can get it.
It's not unpopular on this podcast, Coach. You're in
Coach,
the,
what? Sorry,
I
Rich.
was just gonna say you're in the tree of trust.
Yeah.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Oh, um, I'm rereading David Goggins' first book. I don't have the title in front of me. It's at home. Started rereading that again just to get a little bit of FU back into my diet. Um, one of my former students, Zach Prey, who is at GV, has reenacted my love of EDM from 15 years ago. So I got a little EDM going back into the bloodline, trying to re-get some of my student athletes to understand what good EDM is versus bad EDM and dance house, all of those. Yeah.
So, Coach, I'm a fancy myself as somewhat of an EDM connoisseur. So I'm just curious, what is your good EDM versus bad EDM? Because I hear it all the time with the kids at school.
I am,
Being in Michigan, are you a Claude Von Stroke fan?
yes.
Yes.
Um,
Say
my,
no more.
so one of my top items was when I was at Grand Valley. One of my roommates came home from deployment and he said, "Get in the car." So we all got in the car and he's like, "We're gonna go to a concert." And I was like, "Sweet, something cool in Grand Rapids." We drove to the Palace at Auburn Hills and we saw Avicii live at the Palace at Auburn
Oh,
Hills. So that would have been circa 2011, 2010. So right
okay.
when he's just starting to kick off. So yeah, that kind of got my nectar of love in there. And speaking of nectar, a little bass nectar,
Okay.
all those
All
guys
right.
in there, and we have one of the biggest electric forests. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Yep.
it. It's up here,
Hmm.
so that's literally that's 20 minutes north of us. So been there a couple times, been a bouncer there a few times,
Nice.
done a few other things there. to be unnamed. But yeah, so
That's amazing. Are you a Green Velvet fan?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
yeah,
He's a Michigan guy, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, Coach, I'll tell you, right around that same time, might have been the same tour, but I saw Avicii. He opened for Dead Mouse in 2012 in San Diego at Petco Park.
yeah. That's
So
awesome.
it was pretty special. But we could definitely hang out anytime, Coach.
Yeah, I can thump with the best.
Well, Coach, our last one for you. This is a lighthearted one. It could be maybe it's a food. That's another question I want to ask you. I guess we should ask that first. Jimmy and I consider ourselves to be a little bit of a food connoisseurs, and we like to hear about regional delicacies. You know, we had some coaches from Minnesota. We talked about the Juicy Lucy. I spent some
Mhm.
time in Oklahoma. They have the world famous onion burger. Is there any sort of food delicacy in Western Michigan and Muskegon that we should know about if we ever travel through?
Um, Restaurant wise, so it's a chain, but it's only here in Michigan. G&L. That's like a Grand Coney. That's like a Coney dog, but it's chili dogs. That's a great place to go to. Another restaurant wise, the Deck. The Deck. If you ever come to Muskegon, go to the Deck. It sits on Lake Michigan. It's in the sand. It's Conex boxes. It's street Mexican food. You can sit and listen to music all night long. It's a great place. Recommend it. It's all outdoors. It's one of the only buildings that's able to be built like physically on the beach. Like you're basically a touch away from water here in Michigan. Oh, my probably go to here. Um, Shoot, I love. There's a place called Pints and Quarts. They have great food. Burgers are great. All their food's great. That's I don't have a specific favorite, and that's bad to say, but yeah, those three restaurants is like my circle.
Okay. And one other food specific question for you.
Okay.
Are you do you fancy yourself a fan of Detroit style pizza? And do you have a favorite Detroit style pizza place out there?
Oh, we don't. Oh, not here in West Michigan, really. To
No.
be honest with you, no.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really have a lot of it here.
That hasn't made its way
Yeah.
out that far.
No. Pizza wise, though, if you come here, Lombardo's Pizza, probably the best in West Michigan.
Is
Great.
that New York style or deep dish?
That's New York style.
All right, let's go.
It's
Okay.
good.
So with all that being said, like I said, it could be food. Maybe, there's some delicious craft beers in Michigan. You mentioned you have some young children. Maybe you're a closet Swiftie. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Um, you know what? For being at West Michigan, I love to cross over the border illegally down to Indiana and pick me up a case of Yingling.
Oh, shout out to Dick Yingling.
Yeah, I love a Yingling at night.
Black and
Especially
tan or the original?
what?
The original or black and tan?
The original.
Okay. All
Ori-
right.
Original Red Can Yingling.
Old Latrobe, huh?
Yep.
I didn't realize that was a big thing in Indiana because that's a Pennsylvania.
You can't get it in Michigan.
Really?
Nope. So
Is there a story behind that?
no, I was down in Florida, had a taste of it a couple years back, and was trying to find it up here. And I have brother-in-laws that live in Chicago, and so I always say, hey, you come across, I need you to smuggle me some Yingling up.
Okay.
But beer wise here in Michigan,
Founders?
Founders, Bells. I mean, we've got some right here, Pigeon Hill, great food, great drinks. But I'm a two-hearted guy too.
Okay.
Yingling and two-hearted.
Awesome. But Jimmy and I, we during COVID, we had a podcast with two of our cousins where we basically reviewed craft beers for close to 2 years. Started right at the beginning of COVID and
That's a lot of
blossomed it.
beer.
Yeah, you're telling me. You're telling me. I ended up by the end of it, I was actually working at a brewery.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was a canning technician. But yeah, so w in saying that, we had some brewers that actually came onto the podcast to talk about brewing in their breweries and stuff. And one of the first brewers that we had on, he went to Old Latrobe to meet Dick Yingling and take a tour of the brewery and stuff. So that's how
awesome.
I came to know that Mr. Yingling's first name was Dick.
It's a great combination. Dick
It's a
Yingling.
power name, right? It's a
Yeah,
really good
it
name. It
is. It
rolls off the tongue.
does.
Coach,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you for taking time out from your family to go back to the office to join the Airey Bros to get a solid connection. This was a great conversation. You have made two more fans of the MCC program. We can't wait to see what you guys do at indoor.
Fly Hawks,
And
baby. Fly Hawks.
I like it. I like it. See what you do at indoors and follow the team in outdoors too. So thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Coach, it's an honor, pleasure. Really appreciate you reaching out again and sharing your story and sharing the program with us. And we look for the future and a lot of great things. And we'll be cheering for you as well as Coach Beerbaum, Coach Brown, and Coach Wood next week at Nationals. So thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check all the links in the show notes. Go check out MCC. Go let Coach Marcinkowski know you heard about the program from Airey Bros Radio. And we will be back next week on Tuesday night with Jack Hoyt from Azusa Pacific Track and Field. And then on Wednesday, special guest all the way from Humboldt, California, wrestling coach Lenny Zaleski will be joining us to talk a little bit of wrestling in a Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. So we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.